Hey guys, Sean here. Today, Luke and I are back with another tier list. Today we'll be ranking the best Yu-Gi-Oh products of 2024. We did not get as many products this year as previous years, but we do have some really good sets this year. So let's get right into it. We have a few tiers here. We have
Quarter Century Bazinga. This set has no pathetic cards. Crossout Breaker, I hardly know her. Are we still celebrating? And my year is ruined.
Let's begin. We're going in pretty much release order. We have Maze of Millennia. It's okay. It was definitely way better in the context of when it came out, so the start of the year. Had some really good Rescue Ace reprints, which is really good. Bonfire came out in this set. An insanely good card. Reprinted a lot by now, but when it came out, obviously, was a really, really good card. Introduced the Flame Swordsman archetype, so a nostalgia kind of archetype right there. It's kind of cool that Flame Swordsman got his own archetype. Not very good, but it is cool. It had some Earthbound Immortal support, and it had some Armored Exes support, which probably is, besides the fire stuff, the most impactful thing that the set really released. Overall, it's okay. You know, it's a maze set, so it's mainly just like decent kind of reprints and like OCG imports, stuff like that. It's alright. You could kind of argue that's a bit lower compared to a lot of other sets, but I think like mid-tier is fine. It is kind of the definition of a mid set.
I definitely agree. I think it deserves its spot in the absolute middle of this tier list. Main reason for that is that, as you said, it brings over a bunch of like archetypes from the OCG, a bunch of cards from the OCG and stuff like that. What I'm really impressed with it is that we got Bonfire introduced in this set, and Bonfire is a crazy card, just helped a lot of decks. It helped the likes of Volcanics, it helped the likes of Snake Guys, it helped the likes of pretty much all fire decks really, because it's able to search a Pyro monster, which is really, really good. But why I was really happy with it is that it's able to make Rescue Ace that much bit more accessible for a bunch of people. What I really like about that is that Rescue Ace is a very, very good deck. And it's one of these decks that can be really broken and was very expensive when it was first like brought out, because some of the chase cards were secret rares that you just really need to run multiple copies of. So it was good to kind of like get that reprinted so a lot more people can be introduced into the deck. I think that's great for that. Rescue Ace isn't as dominant as it was back when we were getting this all reprinted, because like they did take a bit of a hit on the ban list. Nothing too bad, just a bit of a consistency hit, but still nice to see that all the cards are being pretty much reprinted in here. So I think it definitely deserves a spot in the middle of the list.
Next up, we have the 2-player starter kit. Very, very hyped when it was announced. Did it pay off? Was it like as good as we thought it would be? Not really. It had Zeus. That was like the best reprint that the set had. And did it really do its job in like teaching new players how to play the game? I can't say. We never got this. We thought it would be a funny video idea to like buy this set and like try it out. But like I've watched like a video on it. It seems okay. They definitely could have done a better job, but at the same time, I'm sure it's alright. I'm sure it's like a decent introduction. Because at least it doesn't pretend that Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't like a complicated game, right? It teaches you XZs, it teaches you links, synchros, all that. It doesn't just say, yeah, normal summon a vanilla monster and that's how you play the game. So I'll give it that. As a product, Zeus is a nice reprint, but that's really about it. A good like idea though. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Needs more products like this. Pokemon has it. Pokemon has kind of like the introduction kind of products where you can just buy it and like learn how to play the game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely needs something like that. But I think they might have dropped the ball a little bit on that.
They dropped the ball so hard that it caused a dent in the floor. This was probably one of the worst kind of deck sets that we've gotten in a while. I really hate to think that they took away our structure decks this year just to make this absolute horrible, horrible set. I was originally thinking, okay, Zeus is announcing this thing. This is going to be absolutely great. I might even buy a few copies of this product just so I can have a few Zeus, and then all the rest of the cards in it will be great to just have. But all the cards in it just don't mix well together. You can't really teach people how decks work if you're just throwing in the most random cards in the deck. Like, why the hell is Dark Magician Girl in this deck? Why the hell is there a bunch of cards that just don't really have as good synergy as one would think? With structure decks, all the cards serve a purpose so that it makes sense to keep them together. This was just a cluster of a bunch of different cards and just did not work. honestly, you end up like with just so much bulk that if you did buy a bunch of these just to get Zeus, that you'd be stuck with a bunch of bulk for no reason that you can't even like sell on. And these aren't even cards that will be good like later down the line. These are cards that are already reprinted to death anyways, so there's just no point in buying it. You might as well just wait for some other suckers to buy it just so they can sell on their copies of Zeus. But even with that, I just don't think it was too worth it at all. I think this is probably one of the worst sets. I don't think it's down in my year is ruined, just because I think Zeus is good enough cards to make this thing worth buying, considering that you do get it. But yeah, definitely in the second last tier. Are we still celebrating? I don't think so.
Next up, Phantom Nightmare. Definitely like a crazy start to the year. I believe it came out in February. It introduced the new Yubel support, which was very hyped up. You know, everyone loves Yubel, a fan favorite archetype, an anime archetype as well. And this is before people knew that this deck was going to be insane. Like, when this set came out, this was like, oh, Yubel is like super poly the archetype. And nowadays, Yubel is not super poly archetype. Nowadays, Yubel is like combo. But it was a really cool set when it came out. Some great cards in it. Some great fire support even. Promethean Princess first came out in this set. Poplar first came out in this set. Even Voiceless Voice, a really strong deck when it came out, was in this set as well. It also has some really good like legacy support. So it had like Aroma support, which, you know, I love plant decks, so that's a plus. It had Raid Raptor support, which I tried out, and generally very, very good support. It made the deck like really good. Hasn't seen much play recently, but when it came out, an awesome deck. But of course, the main appeal was stuff like the Yubel stuff and the Voiceless Voice. Even Ashen came out in this set, which, yeah, kind of was like not worth the hype. It was very hyped up and it didn't really turn into anything, which is kind of what happens with TCG exclusive archetypes. But yeah, I think like as a set, genuinely a really, really good start to the year.
I definitely agree. Definitely deserves a spot in the second tier. The set has no pathetic cards. I think that is definitely correct to say about this. We already knew Snake Eyes was going to be a really good deck, and then the introduction to Popular just elevated to the next level. Popular was so good, in fact, that it's now limited along with Snake Eyes Ash. So it really, really shows how like powerful some of these cards were in this set. One thing I really want to talk about is Yubel. Most times when it comes to like the face cards of the sets, they can either be like really, really expensive or just like not worth a damn because they're really, really bad. But with Yubel being the face of like this set, it really lived up to the hype. I was very excited to like build a Yubel deck. I'm a huge GX fan, and I really, really like building decks related to GX in any way, shape, or form. So being able to like build Yubel, I thought, oh, this is absolutely great. All the Yubel cards in this came out at an affordable price. The most expensive one was the Fusion, that people don't even really run much of anymore because of Spirit Yubel later down the line. So that's one thing I thought was really good about the set, that a bunch of the cards that you want for the deck that you're trying to build, you can get, and then that's all you pretty much needed. We actually had a functioning Yubel deck with all the cards in this thing. Granted, you needed to buy Yubel separately in some of the previous sets, but that's absolutely fine. You could kind of like live with that. It was only later down with some of the later sets that I get like Nightmare Throne and Spirit Yubel, which are just ridiculously expensive. They kind of soured the taste of the deck in my mouth a little bit. But in terms of how good this set is, in terms of introducing a whole new deck and still supporting other archetypes, I think this is fantastic.
Next up, we have Legacy of Destruction. Now, you can call me biased, I don't care. Legacy of Destruction, the best set that came out this year. Ancient Gear support was the most insane thing that ever came out this year. I was incredibly excited for this when it came out, and I was not disappointed. The new Ancient Gear support is so good. It kept getting support down the line, which is crazy. It got Ancient Gear Dragon in a later set, and it's going to get Ancient Gear Statue soon enough as well. But just even the support we got in Legacy of Destruction for Ancient Gears is insane. It makes the deck genuinely playable, which is just fantastic. We also got another kind of like not as good OTK deck called Tenpai. It's like decent, you know, it was very cheap to buy as well. This was before Trident Dragon got reprint, so you know the whole meme, oh, borrow it off a friend. But yeah, Tenpai, as we know now, one of the most insane decks in the game. Like genuinely a bit too much for Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. It really goes to show what happens when you make an OTK deck like good. Because obviously Ancient Gears are held back by like card design, because I feel like they actually care. With Ancient Gears, they don't want to make them broken. But with Tenpai, they're just kind of like, yeah, just have fun, just like win every single game because your deck is just broken. But in Tenpai's favor, very cheap. There were no cards in Legacy of Destruction that were all that expensive, so besides Trident Dragon, this was a very budget deck. The other main archetype of this set is, of course, Shining Sarcophagus, with your new Gandora monster and all the new Shining Sarcophagus cards. It has seen some success. It wasn't like crazy when it came out. But yeah, Shining Sarcophagus is like a cool deck, very nostalgia-y because it's like Yugi's deck. I do think that the main kind of new archetypes in the set were very cool, but they even added a lot of like support for other archetypes. I think Ragnar Raika also came out in this with, you know, more plant support, let's go. And even some like new Yubel cards came out as well. So yeah, not bad at all.
I really love this set. I think this is probably all you can ask for from a set. I think if we're making a comparison with Phantom Nightmare being the first Terminator movie, I think Legacy of Destruction is definitely Terminator 2. One that really holds the greatness of the original while adding so much more is just absolutely great. One thing I really liked about Phantom Nightmare, it introduced a new deck in the form of Yubel, while still showing love and support for all other sort of archetypes in the set. Like Raid Raptors and Snake Eyes and stuff like that. Legacy of Destruction did the exact same thing, introducing a new deck with Tenpai, yet still showing love and support for some previous archetypes such as Ancient Gears and Lightsworns and stuff like that. Lightsworn got a good bit of a boost. We got like 2 really good cards with the Lightsworn Dragonling and also Weiss Lightsworn Archfiend. 2 really great cards that just really helped the deck a good way, and it's not even holding the candle close to the support that Ancient Gears got in this set. This is just an overall really good set, and I can't praise enough. I think it's probably one of the best sets of the year. The fact that this was like a direct sequel to Phantom Nightmare, which is already a good set, and this like topping it even, I think that's why it's definitely one of the best sets of the year, and definitely deserves a spot in the quarter century Bazinga.
Next up, we have the Infinite Forbidden. Exodia support, of course, it's awesome. Some more infamous cards in the set as well. I think you could definitely like... I don't think it's top tier. I think there are like a few that are top tier, but I feel like it's probably about here. I mean, nah, maybe you could put it about here. I think the Exodia support is really cool, and Exodia has seen a lot of tops with the support because just the Millennium cards was really good. They turn Exodia from a really gimmicky deck into a genuine strategy, which is awesome. I feel like a lot of the legacy support this year really kind of made previously shit decks actually playable and actually good. Like imagine playing Yubel before the new support. Like what would you do? You would not play the game. But the new Exodia support just makes the deck an actual like decent strategy. Onto the more infamous cards though, we have the Fiendsmith engine, which not only is it pricey, it's insanely good. It fits in almost any deck. Really good in like Fiend decks, but really good in like basically any deck because it's just a little engine you can put into any deck. We also got Mimigools, which are like, you know, a fun TCG exclusive archetype. Definitely not terrible. They've seen some success. As a TCG archetype, it is genuinely not too bad. And White Forest is another really cool archetype that came from this set. And of course we have some infamous new cards. We have the first Mulcharmy Perulia, which is the maxi from your hand type of card. And then we have Dominus Purge, which is not as good as Dominus Impulse, but was the start of the new kind of Dominus hand traps. It's pretty crazy how Infinite Forbidden released 2 new hand traps that basically like shape the game now. I really just feel like we've made a kind of a jump in like the Yu-Gi-Oh timeline here. I feel like there is a new era after Infinite Forbidden where the game is kind of taking a turn in direction. So far we've seen what that led to. That led to Mulcharmy, Fruvolose, and Dominus Impulse, which are some very strong cards, very expensive cards too. But I do think this set will be looked back upon as one of the sets that really kind of like paved the way for a new era of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Honestly, I think if it wasn't for the Exodia stuff, I'd probably hate this set. Just for the main purpose that a lot of the cards in it were short printed, and I really hate when a set comes out that just has such expensive cards that are so short printed that I just don't like it at all. The Volcharmies being one of the big ones, but also just the Fiendsmith stuff as well. It really drives me when I see like a bunch of cards in a set that you think, oh great, all these great cards are in the set, this set's going to be absolutely insane. But then all those cards end up being really high rarity and short printed so that you don't really get all the stuff that you're looking for. I think it's great that it made Exodia like an actual good strategy, but considering that we were coming off of such a high with the likes of Phantom Nightmare and Legacy Destruction, going to Infinite Forbidden where you're just making cards way more expensive and way more harder to get that you kind of like need to be running them. I don't know. I just don't, it doesn't sit well with me. I will say those cards are so good and really impactful that it does deserve a spot in the second tier, but I definitely keep it on the low end of the second tier just because just short printing is not fun and it really ruffles my feathers.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think if we just like look objectively at the cards in the set, like yeah, these cards are insane. But if we're looking at like the set practices and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, kind of cringe, Konami, a little bit cringe. Not so cringe. Okay, never mind. I take it back. Terminal Revenge, Battles Legend Terminal Revenge. 500 euro Blue Eyes card that is only in quarter century secret rare. What the fuck? That's kind of dumb. However, if you ignore that, everything else in the set is really cool. Maybe about here. Because it is mainly a reprint set, it's no like crazy. Oh no, I take it back. There is some good new archetypes. Ritual Beast support came out in this, and Ritual Beast is doing very well right now, so let's put it up here. The sprite reprints were great. It has been so long since sprite were printed, and they were like never reprinted in like tins before this. So yeah, it felt like maybe 2-3 years before we actually got sprite reprints. And now sprites are very playable and very cheap, so that's awesome. Ice Barriers even got new support, which is really cool. Nothing crazy, but it's really cool that, you know, Ice Barriers are getting some love. You know, everyone loves Ice Barriers. They even got a structure deck that no one cares about. So it's cool that like the deck kind of has a better strategy now. It is somewhat playable as like a rogue deck. Really good in combination with cards like Runic, which is cool. And of course, Phantom of Yubel, a card that really pushed Yubel. Yubel would be nowhere near as good as a deck if Phantom of Yubel wasn't released. Definitely feels like they forgot to put Hard One's Return on the card, but it is what it is. That was like the highlight of the set, to be honest. That was like the one card that people really, really wanted. But yeah, overall, Battles Legends sets usually have some really good reprints. They're always like fun enough to open. I think it was an alright set.
Honestly, I really like the sprite reprints. That was like maybe you want to build sprite, and it made like a sprite's really cheap to build now, and maybe like learn the archetype, and now sprite's probably one of my favorite decks. But I do think I still have like my I still have my gripe with like the short printing of stuff. Like, come on, that like Blue Eyes Black Luster Soldier thing is only printed in one rarity, and it's like the highest rarity, and it's 500 euro, and we're not even getting it like reprinted in the structure deck coming soon. So that just means anyone that's going to be playing Blue Eyes in the New Year's, the ones with the best Blue Eyes decks objectively are the ones that are literally Kaiba, who spending that much money on cards and stuff like that.
It's kind of perfect.
It is kind of perfect. You know, I take it at that. That's actually quite fitting. But also Phantom of Yubel, yeah, it's just such a crazy card. Another one of these cards that were kind of like short printed a little bit, so it was kind of hard for people to get it. But I mean, we already got Nightmare Throne at this point when Phantom of Yubel came out, so Nightmare Throne was another expensive card that you would want to have if you're like sticking by Yubel. So having Spirit of Yubel being printed and also being very expensive in this set, it kind of like, it was good for people that were like investing in Yubel and really counting on the deck to like go above and beyond what we previously thought was capable of doing. Yeah, it's definitely great for those that stuck by, but for people like me that didn't stand by the deck after Nightmare Throne was reprinted, that didn't really care to invest heavily into an archetype like this, it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. It was great for them, but for the rest of us, it was like, whatever. It was grand. I think it's a good set. I don't know, I don't think it's as good as it could have been, because we got the sprites reprinted, and I'm going to be mentioning this later as well with some other stuff, but where the hell are the tier reprints? I think this would have been a great spot to reprint some tier cards, but they just didn't, and that's one thing that I'm like a bit picky about.
Next up, Rarity Collection 2, the long-awaited sequel to Rarity Collection 1, which was really, really good. Rarity Collection 2, maybe not as good. The hand trap reprints were not as good. However, some really important reprints in this set were like Access Code, Ultimate Slayer was a really cool one. Cards like Crosshair Designator, Dragoon was a pricey one, IP was a good reprint, Apollosa before she got banned, RIP. Some like really good reprints, some decent hand traps. It wasn't nearly as good as Rarity Collection 1, so like maybe about here. Probably goes up above Maze of Millennia. It was okay. It was a decent sequel. Someone changed stuff as well, which is like, it was nice. But yeah, overall, like, it's just decent. Nothing crazy about it. Not nearly as good as the first one.
Yeah, it kind of had like a lot of hype to live up to, And the fact that Rarity Collection 1 was just so phenomenal that people were thinking, oh yeah, Rarity Collection 2, they're going to go above and beyond. And it just did not live up to the hype. So I think the odds were against it in that sense, that it's like being the direct sequel to one of the best sets that Konami ever printed. It did have a lot to live up to, unfortunately just didn't live up to it. Again, one thing I will say is that it did have like a good bunch of staples that were reprinted, which was great. It's what Rarity Collection did very well. But considering that the Rarity Collection 1 kind of did all the main ones, this was basically just getting the sloppy seconds of that, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But again, where the hell are the tier cards? I really thought that like Terminal Revenge or the Rarity Collection 2 or the tins, I was like, oh great, we're going to be playing tier. Because Sean and I, we never really did play tier. We played against tier and stuff like that, but it's one of those decks that was just so popular because it was so meta. It was one of the best, it's probably arguably the best deck out there, but we never really got a chance to play it. You kind of think by now that they'd actually be reprinting some of this stuff, and they just didn't, and it seems like such a missed opportunity. I think this set might actually go up a tier, maybe even would have been one of the top tiers if they just reprinted tier cards, but they just didn't, and it seems like such a missed opportunity. So I think it definitely deserves to be kind of like in the middle of the ground. One of those sets that you kind of don't really remember too well. You know what happened, but to actually list a bunch of cards from it, you might just forget what's there. So yeah, definitely deserves to be in the middle of the tier list.
Speaking of disappointments, we have the 2024 tin, the Dueling Mirrors tin. We were all so hyped for this. There were so many good cards in this set. There was like Crimson Dragon. The biggest thing I was looking forward to were the Centurion reprints. I was so excited to buy this deck because I'm like, oh, all the cards are going to be cheap. I can buy Centurions. It's going to be so fun. Even Horus cards, I was really excited to buy the Horus engine. Some cash stuff was going to be pretty cool. We had branded stuff. We had like Quem. We had Sanctifier Dragon. A Bonfire reprint. There were so many good cards. And even like some of the nostalgia cards are going to be really cool to get in like quarter century rare, stuff like that. The only problem is the set sucks because everything, all the good cards were printed as quarter century secret rares. There were only 2 quarter century secret rares per pack, meaning that every card that was good, that was reprinted in a quarter century secret rare, was just way too expensive because you just weren't going to pull them. You would pull 6 quarter century secret rares out of a tin. Out of like what, 48 cards, something like that, almost 50 cards. You're pulling 6 decent cards, and half of those cards are nostalgic cards that you're not going to play. It's just so bad. Oh my god, this product was made so badly. The cards inside are fantastic, but the product is just abysmal. It's so depressing. We were going to buy a case of this and open it on the channel, but like after we saw some openings, we just didn't do it. It was so bad. Such a letdown from the previous tin. The 2023 tin was so good, but this is just awful.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the most disappointing products we've ever come across in Yu-Gi-Oh! At all. Another thing I'm going to say again, where the hell is the tier stuff? Like, come on, this would have been great. What I really like about the tins is that every year you get the tins as a celebration of the year, which is fantastic. You get a bunch of reprints for a bunch of the cards that were like really good throughout the year. But Konami just seems to be wanting it to be like, oh, this is a celebration of the 25 years of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's fine, but we already did that like last year with the other tins. This is the second 25th anniversary tin, which makes no sense whatsoever. Why the hell are there 2 25th anniversary tins a year between them? It's so stupid. And considering that we got a lot less products this year, and they're just shoving like a bunch of like anniversary stuff into the tin, why not just make a separate set to celebrate the 25th anniversary? If you had a separate set that had a bunch of like higher rarity GOAT cards and Edison cards and even like modern cards, that would have sold really well. Just leave the tins alone and let the tins do what they do best, which is reprinting stuff throughout the year. Because all it really did was disappointed so many people, because what the tins are meant to do is reprint a bunch of the expensive cards throughout the year. They did that, fine, but considering that they're shoehorning in a bunch of like, oh, over the 25 years these cards were great too, it's like, yeah, we don't really care about that. That's great, that was 25 years ago, but now we want cards that are competitive in today's meta, so reprint the cards that are competitive in today's meta. People who play meta decks, they always buy the tins. people who like to look casual fun, they'll always buy the side sets that are related to a character like Legendary Duels and stuff like that. So just give the meta players their meta product. That's what they want. And it's always so good to have like tins that are full of cards that you couldn't get before. But considering there's over 400 cards in this set, actually I think there's exactly 400 cards, you're less likely to get the cards you actually want. So this was one of the biggest disappointments of all time. And I have to say, where the hell are the tier cards? Konami just released them, goddammit, they're gone so expensive again.
I will say spoilers before we get to Rage of the Abyss. Quarter Century Bonanza pretty much fixed everything in the tins. Like, they should have just skipped the tins and made like Quarter Century Bonanza 2. It's insane. Anyway, let's go on to Rage of the Abyss. Personally, not a fan of this set, but I cannot deny that it is one of the best sets of the year. We're not putting it against Legacy of Destruction because, again, I'm biased. But Rage of the Abyss has some shark cards, okay, that's cool. But Azumina, the Azumina support, insane. A really good engine in a lot of decks, like any kind of Fiend Illusion deck. So, of course, people are playing it in Snake Eye, people are playing it in Fire King, Chimera is another one. So, yeah, the Azumina engine, it's almost like affordable, right? All the cards are cheap except for Deception. And the only reason Deception is expensive is, well, obviously short printed secret rare, but because it is specifically a Snake Eye card. But like, it would almost be cheap if it wasn't for that. All the other cards are not that expensive, but it's just really strong. It's a really good engine in decks like Chimera, in decks like Snake Eye and Fire King. So it's really good. And let's not forget Molcharmi Fruvalos, the new Maxi. We're finally here. This is the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Being cool. Maxi is back, and it's in the form of like a squid guy. I understand that it's not as bad as Maxi, of course. It does have restrictions. It is very much a going second card. You cannot play it going first. However, why is it over €100? You need to place it this card. It's like gonna set you back €300. If you're buying budget decks, you could buy like 6 budget decks for the price of 3 Molcharmi Fruvalos. It's just so depressing. And of course, Dominance Impulse, the new insanely good hand trap, which only works in certain decks. Again, like that's like €60 a copy. It's just insane. So for that, I really don't like this set. I don't like powerful cards being impossible to buy if you don't want to take out a second mortgage on your house. It's just so depressing. Even like the new archetypes, like the shark support is cool and all, but some people do care. Sharks are cool, but it's not like good enough. I feel like the support that sharks got are not as good as kind of like the legacy support that other cards got in the previous sets. Volcanics came out in this set, so it's like a direct buff to Fire King, which is cool. You know, Fire King on its own is a cool deck. Kind of took a while to come out in TCG, to be honest. It was in Master Duel for a long time before it came out in TCG. We even got 6 Sam support, which is like genuinely cool, but it just turns the deck back into an FTK deck, which is kind of cringe. There's also like some good Centurion support. I failed to mention it a few times, but Centurion have been like slowly getting support like all throughout this year. It got Auxilla in Legacy of Destruction. It got like some new cards in a few other sets. And in Rage of the Abyss, it got some really good new support. It has the level 8 Synchro, has the new kind of main deck monster. It's just insane how like Centurion just keep getting better. I feel like Centurion is really turning into the Sky Strikers of like the modern day. Just a deck that everyone loves. It's just a really cool deck. If we talk about the cards in the set, really good. Like an insanely strong set. The cards are really good. However, I'm just not a fan of the whole idea around it, I want to be able to play the game and not have to like rob a bank to buy cards.
Yeah, I was still recovering from the disappointment of the tins, to be honest with you. So I was in a rage with Yu-Gi-Oh! For like a good few weeks, and I wasn't really listening out. I didn't really care too much. But just with this set, I think it kind of falls in the same pitfalls as the Infinite Forbidden. Yeah, there's like some decent cards in it that you get at like low rarities and stuff like that. But just the short prints and the expense of some of these cards in this set is so unjustifiable that I just don't really support it at all. I could see, yeah, it's definitely like going to have a lot of impact in the meta, so probably does deserve its space like really high on this list. But personally, no, just don't like sets like this that are just ridiculous expensive secret rares, and then all the rest is just bad commons.
Next up, Quarter Century Bonanza, the savior of the year. Quarter Century Bonanza is what Rarity Collection 2 and the Tins should have been. Really good reprints like SP Little Knight for an affordable price. It's insane. Triple Tactics Trust. All the Fire Deck stuff like the whole Snake Eye engine, Dire Bellstar, Wanted, Promethean Princess, Bonfire. Like the meta stuff, it's all reprinted here. Cards like Super Poly, like really good staples. Even stuff like the Nemesis package and like Thunder Dragon Colossus, which recently came off the ban list. Stuff like that was like genuinely kind of expensive beforehand is so affordable now. And of course, you know, the best cards of all, the Ancient Gear reprints. Let's go, Fortress at an affordable price, satisfactory. And this is a set that really did like the nostalgia pool kind of well. There are so many like nostalgia cards in Quarter Century Bonanza, and they're actually really cool. You have stuff like Caius, you have like Edison cards, you have Goat cards in really nice rarities, but they don't take up the entire set. It's just a really good set. Even though it's called Quarter Century Bonanza, the set code is like Rarity Collection 3. And it really is just Rarity Collection number 3. It's fantastic. It's a really good set. I think it genuinely is like one of the best sets of the year.
It feels like damage control from the Tins, to be quite honest with you. I think it's just kind of like they saw how bad the Tins turned out and they're like, okay, we need to make the next like reprint set be really, really good. And they tried to really up it. But yeah, it's a good set, but I'm still pissed. I have to say, I'm still really mad at the Tins this year. And the fact that this is damage control to like try and like savior it a little bit and not like ruin their quarter, I think it's just still disappointing to me. I'm just still really mad at it. And again, no tier cards. So still pissed off with that. But it's just also at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, 20th Century Bonanza. Why didn't you just put all the cards over the 25 years as high rarity stuff in this? Take them away from the Tins and stick them in Bonanza, and take the meta cards from Bonanza and stick them in the Tins. They probably would have made a lot more money that way, because all it really did was just confuse a bunch of the sets to make you have to buy them both, when really if you just like got the people that know what they want and would head for that one set in particular, I don't know, it just seems a bit dodgy to me. I really don't like how they like handled the Tins and how they handled the reprints this year. I thought it was a really, really bad way to go about. And considering how expensive some of these other cards are throughout this year, I'm really fearful for what way they're going to be reprinted in the coming year. I don't know. My feathers are still ruffled. I'm still quite pissed off. But yeah, Bonanza, still a fairly decent set.
I think you have a point though. I think this year feels very confused. I feel like the first few sets we got in the year were absolutely fantastic. And then I feel like Konami was like, okay, we can still milk this quarter century stuff for a while. And Rarity Collection 1 did really good. The Tins did really good. Let's just keep doing it. I think all of the main kind of quarter century sets, so like the Tin, Rarity Collection 2 and Quarter Century Bonanza, I feel like they really didn't know what they were doing with them. I feel like they really kind of fumbled on it all, you know? It feels very rushed, you know what I mean? It feels like they didn't really put much thought into it. And yeah, that kind of feels like that kind of happened at the end of the year. I feel like the first half of the year, fantastic. We were really onto something. And then we kind of fell off at the end of the year. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, on to the final one here. We have Crossover Breakers. It's going to be out very, very soon. Sometime early December. I'd say about here, if I'm trusting the hype, okay? If I'm trusting the hype in Crossover Breakers, it will be about here. Malice is going to be, you know, a fan favorite deck. It's like a waifu deck. It seems pretty cool. Seems like decently strong as well, you know, a good kind of like banishing deck. Raziel is what people are fearing. The new best deck in the game. It is dominating the OCG. And it's a really good deck, but you know, a lot of people say it's just because of Max C. If you're in a Max C environment, Raziel can do pretty well. But you know, we're not too far away from Max C with the Mulcharmy card, so maybe Raziel will still be like a really good deck. But yeah, only time will tell. And you know, the final kind of archetype in this set is not really good, like Andro Drake or something like that. I don't even know what it's called. But it's cool. They're kind of like level 10 guys. So like they have a level 10 like Sea Serpent, level 10 Dinosaur, level 10 like Worm, something like that. They're cool looking, like they look really cool, but I don't think they're going to be great. You know, some potential maybe, but you know, every kind of one of these deck builder sets have like a weak archetype in them, and that's definitely going to be the weak archetype. But you know, I do have high hopes. I think it will be pretty decent. A lot of the most recent deck builder sets have been really good. You know, Labyrinth was in a deck builder set, Runic was in a deck builder set, Centurion, Vanquish Soul, all these really good decks now were in deck builder sets. So I do think that it has high potential. I think it's going to be a really good set.
Yeah, deck builder sets like these, they always have, like, there's always going to be one archetype in it that's going to be so powerful, and it's going to be one of these decks that's definitely going to dominate for a while. I definitely think that we're going to see that from this set right here. I say, since considering how things are going to OCG right now, I feel like this set is going to be really, really impactful for the next year coming. So this will definitely be one of the sets that you guys want to keep an eye on when it comes out very soon.
Alright, so that's it for our tier list on the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Products of 2024. I know we're kind of on like a sour mood, but you know, the last half of the year kind of sucked, to be honest. The first half was pretty cool. We were on such a roll. Yubel stuff that wasn't like broken yet. Obviously Ancient Gears. A lot of really cool like older archetypes getting support. Even up to Exodia, I think we were cooking. And after that, I feel like we just like fell off a cliff. Very sad. But, you know, I do think there are like enough good sets this year that it was alright. Really sad no structure deck, to be honest. I really would like the structure deck. We got 3 structure decks last year. No structure decks this year. I'm going to start off 2025 with the Blue Eyes structure deck. So hopefully they're, you know, back on track. Because I do think structure decks are genuinely a really, really good product in Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does suck that we didn't get one this year. But, you know, fingers crossed. Also, we didn't get a Legendary Duelist set. I don't remember if they said they're going to like not do them anymore. But you know, they were kind of cool, they were kind of funny, they were kind of shit. But they were kind of cool. But overall, yeah, this year, not too bad. It's alright, kind of mid to be honest. Kind of a mid year, but you know, it is how it is. So thanks for watching, let us know what you think in the comments. If you want to support the channel, make sure you check out our memberships. And if you want to buy any of these sets, maybe you want to buy some Ancient Gear cards from Legacy Destruction, or you want to buy some booster packs for Christmas, just to have some fun opening cards, we do have a TCG Player affiliate link in the description. You can check that out. Directly supports the channel, helps us make the content. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content.